Welcome to Dark Knight Films Reviews and another Hammer Productions night. Tonight, I will be reviewing Creatures the World Forgot, released in 1971. Directed by Don Chaffey, from a script by Michael Carreras, starring Julie Ege, Tony Bonner, Brian O'Shaughnessy, Robert John, Rosalie Crutchley, and Marcia Fox. Now this is the fourth and final chapter in the Cave Girl series, which began with the remake of 1 Million BC, titled 1 Million Years BC, starring Raquel Welch. And the second film in that series was Prehistoric Women, which was a stark difference from the other three films in this series because the characters actually all speak English. Whereas 1 Million Years BC, the characters are speaking a primitive cave language. This film gets rid of that completely, and all they're doing is grunting and groaning and not really saying much at all in this film as far as any kind of dialogue, even cave dialogue. This one is unfortunately much more in line with the last film I reviewed for this series, When Dinosaurs Ruled the Earth, which I was not a fan of that film at all. But this film really makes that one look like a masterpiece in comparison. That's a shame because this is actually directed by the same director that directed 1 Million Years BC, Don Chaffey. But the script does not write these characters as interesting. It doesn't give them anything really to do that makes them anything that we actually give a shit about. This is basically just Michael Carreras writing a Cain and Abel story set in prehistoric times. That's all this was to me. That's all it felt like to me. But unlike the Cain and Abel story, which had entertaining and interesting story bits, this has nothing. This has nothing. None of it. And to make matters worse, your leading lady, Julie Ege, is not even introduced till probably 40, 50 minutes into this film. And her character is horrible. Her character is not anything near what Raquel Welch's character was in the first film in this series. And that's a shame because she did a penthouse layout posing to promote this film with her natural blonde hair, and she looked like she could be a perfect successor to Raquel Welch. But they make her this dark-haired character, probably wearing a wig from what I could see. And she is just completely uninteresting. In fact, she attacks the deaf girl in the story. And then is beaten off by the main guy, Tomac, played by Tony Bonner. And then all of a sudden, she wants to become with him. She goes to him and wants to be his mate all of a sudden. And it's just made no sense. And then she's there, and they actually, are together for the rest of the story. Terrible. You can see her behind me in the picture behind me with the dark hair, and it just She doesn't look that attractive as a character. Her character is not written very well. I mean, none of these characters are written very well, actually. All you get is altercations, a little fight, and then walking around. Walking around. Walking around. Music is excellent in this. The music score is brilliant. It sounds like it was composed for a really great action, dramatic film. This is not it. Music is intimidating and booming and great as you're following a character. It's bland. It's a bland scene. The music is trying to portray it as this intense moment, this great scene, but it is sadly, the music is better than this film deserves. It is just a boring film. You are following characters around through most of it. Just wandering around, meandering. That's it. That's all it is. Occasional altercation, meandering, walking around. Occasional altercation, meandering, wandering around. It is a boring excursion. And the bigger travesty to this film is, and it's very similar to my qualms about To the Devil a Daughter, and that is the only nudity that is in this film, which doesn't need nudity, of course. I mean, 1,000,000 years BC didn't have nudity on Raquel Welch, and yet it was one of the best in this series. But the only nudity in this film, even though, like I said, Julie Ege did a penthouse spread with, topless shots and everything. She never does get topless in this film, of course. But the character that does is the young 15-year-old version of the deaf girl. She's topless through all of her sequences in this. Yet when the character grows up to be Marcia Fox as the deaf girl, she's fully clothed at all times. Scantily clothed, but she's still clothed. Even when Tomac's brother, the Cain of the story, Rule, played by Robert John, attacks her and tries to rape her, there's no nudity. So, I don't know who came up with the idea to do that, but that was horrible. Don't have an underage, I don't know if the actress was actually underage or she was just playing, but that age range, but she's supposed to be 15 years old, 13, 14, 15 years old, whatever these characters were supposed to be, the younger versions are, and yet you're having her completely topless. At least it was not as bad as I previously mentioned To the Devil a Daughter, where they had Natasha Kinski full frontal. But still, don't go there. Why do that? But yeah, this is just an awful film. One of the worst from Hammer, unfortunately. I had a hard time even finishing watching it because it was so boring. I was bored while I was watching it, and that usually doesn't happen with a Hammer film. So definitely the worst film I've ever seen Don Chaffey direct, and he's a fine director. But yeah, this one was not his best. So my final review for Creatures the World Forgot from 1971. I'm going to give this film a 3.2 out of 10. I mean, it is an awful Hammer film, unfortunately. What do you think of this film? Have you seen it? Do you agree with my review? Do you disagree? Let me know in those comments down below. And as usual, if you enjoyed this video, do not forget to like, share, and subscribe. And don't forget to click that bell icon so you can be notified about future videos just like this one. And while you're by the subscribe button, click that join button and become a Dark Knight fan. As a Dark Knight Fan Plus member, you have access to an area right now on the channel where you can request a movie, TV series, or ranking video of your choosing. And when that video goes up, it will go up for all Plus members to view. And then after that, I will put up another one. And you can request again. So it's not just a one-time thing. But sooner or later, after the exclusive time period, and I have a spot for it on the channel, those videos will come for everyone else to view. So if you want to get interactive and help add new content to the channel that you want to see me do, now's your chance. Well, that's it for another Hammer Productions night. If you missed last week's Hammer Productions night, check out the link up here to get caught up on that one. Or if you missed any of the other Hammer Productions night, be sure and check out the playlist right here to get caught up on any of them that you have missed.